So we're going to get started, all right? So I want to welcome our guest tonight. Well, I want to get this program started first. So we have the MS Advocacy Hub. It's a virtual program. We've been doing this now just shortly after the pandemic began. We began with this series. And for tonight, like you all know, my name is Stuart Schlossman, president and founder of MS Views and News. I, too, have multiple sclerosis. That's another topic. We'll get started on that another time. So tonight's supporters is Sanofi, Genzyme, Bristol-Myers, Squibb, and Biogen, and we want to thank them virtually. Everybody give them a round of applause. Yay, way to go. All right. So let me tell you a little bit, let me give you a little bit of intro, and then I'll get into my guests, all right? So MS Views and News created the MS Hub in response to COVID-19. As we know that now more than ever, the MS community needs to stay connected to resources and updated information. You'll be having, we'll be having different presenters each month, and that's our way of showing the MS community as a whole as to what we're doing and showing what each of these other MS organizations are doing to be able to provide you all with resources and services. And this started way before COVID, but this is our way of just helping to bring it all out. So for tonight's program, we're going to have Amanda
Montague.
She's the Chief Mission Officer for the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America, also known as the MSAA. All right, and we have Kyle Pinion. Kyle's the Senior Director of Education, Healthcare, and Advocacy, and has been with the MSAA. They're both joining us tonight. And thank you for being this month's guests. I want to thank you both for coming on a Friday night and Kyle's birthday, as we found out. So happy birthday to Kyle. Everybody say happy birthday. Yeah, there you go. They're all saying happy birthday. Way to go.
Thank you. Yeah, 38, Stuart. I don't like it. Okay.
38. 38, and you're having a problem with that. Oh, boy, we're in trouble here. All right. So before I actually begin, I want to let everybody know, if you have any questions related to tonight's topic, all right, we're not really dealing, but we're asking the Multiple Sclerosis Association for information about their resources and programs. If you have any questions that concern that, then please click on the red arrow or the orange arrow at the top of the screen and type in your question. If you have questions that are directly really for medical experts, please don't ask, because we're not going to be able to answer that, all right? Okay, so one at a time. I'm going to start with Amanda. You know why? Ladies go first, right? So we'll start with Amanda. Can you tell us or tell the audience more about your role with the MSAA?
Sure. So thanks again for having us, Stu. We're really happy to be here. Pleasure to be here all together on a Friday night. So my name is Amanda Montague. I'm the Chief Mission Officer at MSAA. That is a new title, so I'll try to succinctly explain what that means. I've been with MSA since 2004, started as a regional director, as did Kyle, and now I'm fortunate enough to get to oversee all of the programs and services that MSA does, which is we have a great team of folks who we get to work with, and that's my position. Now, I will quickly say, though you didn't ask, Stu, MSAA in and of itself has been around for 51 years. So we were founded in 1970. We were founded specifically by a couple who, the gentleman who founded us, his wife had MS and was really looking for assistance for quality of life issues that continue to come up for him and his wife and the people with MS they knew. And so that's really where we stand within the MS space. We provide a lot of free programs and services, and I know we're going to go through many of those tonight. But we are a proud patient-centric nonprofit that really wants to just improve every day for those living with MS.
So before I let Kyle answer that, thank you for that answer, Amanda. Can you tell, we did have where I was going to ask you about the MSAA. How long ago was this organization created?
So we were founded in 1970 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is still where our headquarters are. Kyle and I are both remote, but that's where our founding was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And for the beginning of MSA, it was more of a regional nonprofit, I would say. It's subsequently obviously become quite national, and we even have some international initiatives that we're working on. But that's the founding of it was back in 1970. So last year would have been a celebration of 50 years if the world hadn't imploded.
Right. All right, Kyle, Tell us about your position, please.
Yeah. So, Stuart, again, thanks for having us. You and I, we're old buddies, so it's good to connect with you remotely. Hope to get to shake your hand again sometime soon, my friend. I'm Kyle Pinion. I'm the Senior Director of Education, Healthcare Relations, and Advocacy for the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America. And I've been at MSAA now for about 10 years. And I've been in the MS world for about 15, but frankly, I've been in it even longer than that. Just my personal connection, so briefly. My mom has MS, and she's been diagnosed since 1996. So really, MS has been the sort of driving force in my entire career path, and really the entire thing that I've kind of dedicated my whole life to. So I'm so fortunate to be able to sort of, contribute whatever skills I have to help make the world a better place for people living with MS and improve everyone's quality of life where we can. In my role, I'm in the Atlanta area. I'm a regional director for MSAA, and I oversee the southeastern region. So just like you, Stuart, we're down south, but right. I oversee the states of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Tennessee, and Puerto Rico. Hello, Puerto Rico. And so I provide education for that area, and I also oversee, in consultation with Amanda, our overall regional team. So any educational programs we provide, be it in person or virtually, I work with our remote teams in Chicago, Austin, Texas, Amanda, who is on the West Coast and near Seattle, and our newest staff member who's in Washington, D.C. And we work to provide education for a number of different topics, for a number of different subpopulations within the MS field, providing very relevant and interesting and intriguing and needed educational programming, similar to what you guys do nationally. And, the other part of my job is the advocacy part, and I won't talk about this too much because, but I work in federal and state government for advocacy relations. I do a little bit of lobbying here and there for the MS community, and that's kind of a big thrust of my job that certainly kind of keeps my engines running.
Well, thank you for all that. And before we go forward, I just have a question to ask you about your mother.
Sure.
How young were you when you first found out your mom had MS?
I was 12. 13,
wow.
Maybe, yeah.
So sorry, Amanda, but I gotta hit on this for a minute, all right?
That's more important, yeah.
As a child, how did you feel about your mom having MS? And did it restrict any of your activities as being a child?
So I didn't know a lot about it. Now I come from one of these families that, when medical issues arise, we don't talk about it a lot. So Sure. It was one of these things where for MS, I had to self-educate. That's kind of an unusual situation, I think, in most families that I've met, but that's how mine kind of works. But I will say that in terms of restricting activities, the biggest issue that I typically found, and I'm thankful to say my mother has a relapsing remitting course of MS, and is doing quite well. She's a retired teacher now. But I think there were a lot of times where we wanted to go out and do something, and my mom, the fatigue certainly took hold of my mother on a regular basis. So there were a lot of mid-afternoon naps. And as a kid, you don't really understand that. Like, why? I want to go to the mall. I want to go to the theater. I want to go to see my friends play baseball. Whatever it is, And that was something that was always a tough hump to understand. But now, certainly, I get it. And it's just kind of thing that, like at MSAA, and I know we are working to sort of improve that communication gap between parents and children living with MS. We've got a great staff member who oversees that. I got to tell you, it's really become like a vital educational and intervention point for us to really help parents understand how to communicate MS to their kids, no matter what their age gap might be.
Okay, thank you. That was great. It was very much needed. People need to hear that. I mean, there's X amount of mothers that are online tonight and that will be listening to this later on. And, they maybe just hearing that, they might understand how to explain their multiple sclerosis to their children better, being that you were in the dark and, it's important for them to really explain it. All right. So going forward, let's see, I think you spoke a little bit about some of your the resources that are available, but Amanda, can you please, take us on a journey? Give us a journey of what goes on with that. Tell us what you've got available.
Okay, we're going to go on the journey together, and Kyle is going to fill in any pieces that I missed along the way. So first of all, I will say everything we offer is free for anyone living with MS. We are a leading resource for the entire MS community. So we also do some work that's really in line with healthcare professionals and the MS healthcare professional community. But most of what we offer is really geared towards those living with MS, their care partners, their family members, as Kyle touched upon. Some of our core services, we have a cooling and equipment distribution program. Those living with MS, all they need is a diagnosis from their doctor that they can send in to us. We keep it on file, and then they're able to apply for these programs. There are some income guidelines on them. I'm proud to say that our income guidelines are 300% of what the federal poverty guidelines are. It's not saying much, unfortunately, because the federal poverty guidelines are really disastrously low, but that's where we are. And the cooling equipment program allows those living with MS to get free cooling equipment that's theirs to keep. It's brand new and shipped to them for free. The equipment program has a host of different items available. Again, brand new. We ship it for free, and it's yours to keep. The equipment distribution program has accessible items like easy grip utensil items for the kitchen, grab bars, wheelchairs, yoga mats. So we're trying to venture into some other areas that for health and wellness purposes are really important in terms of people taking care of themselves. And then we also have our MRI program. The MRI program is the only one of its kind within the MS nonprofit space. And we're really proud to be able to help those who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford an MRI, give them the financial assistance to get an MRI either for diagnostic or just for 2-year follow-up appointments to get that MRI.
You answered all my questions already.
I was just going to add one extra thing too. For people who are aligned with MSAA in terms of being clients or on our mailing list too, we publish a twice yearly magazine called The Motivator, which is a really wonderfully put together publication. I have to say, so like I get this thing in the mail, and I have nothing to do with it. Right? We have an amazing communications team who writes all the articles, works with our medical writers, brings in medical professionals to contribute from all across the country in various states. And the magazine really covers so many different fascinating areas like caregiving or care partners or self-advocacy or research advancements in MS, symptom management in MS, dealing with things like fatigue and depression. And I think that was especially critical in this time when isolation is just so heightened, right? And that's something I know that we talked about before we started. So Motivator magazine, highly, highly, highly recommended. We put out 2 of those a year, and then once a year, we also put out a really fabulous research update that we just cannot keep it from. I mean, every single time I was out in the field, I always had a doc asking me, "Hey, can you send me one of those research updates?" I'd say, I don't think I have any. I'm sorry, but I'll email you a PDF.
That's great. That's great. So going forward there, I found a few questions that you did not answer already, so I can ask them also, all right? But just going back for a minute, I'm going to ask Kyle this question. So Amanda brought up about your cooling program, but can you tell me how many people with multiple sclerosis are known to have heat sensitivity? Is there like a percentage? Is there something that you can answer about that?
I can't really answer that because I haven't really looked at the research, to be honest with you, Stuart, but it's pretty common. I mean, anywhere between 2/3 to 3/4, perhaps, something like that. Amanda, do you have any great enlightenment on that?
I am not, I don't know exactly, but I will tell you the program's extremely popular because for folks with MS, heat can really be a barrier to doing things that the rest of us take for granted. So going back to kind of Kyle's experience growing up with his mom, it can make the difference in terms of a person being able to go out to watch their kid play a soccer game. Also, we've heard amazing testimonials from folks who it actually makes a difference about them being able to keep their jobs, honestly, because they're able to use the cooling equipment in a work environment that otherwise it would be impossible for them to stay in the workforce. So I don't know the numbers, but I know how greatly impactful that program is and how needed it is.
I mean, let me give you a real world example, okay? You know, I don't want to talk about my mom this whole time because that's, you know, get guys into personal, I think. But
Well, she's going to give you a whooping later.
yeah, well, wouldn't be the first time. Yeah, so she was on bus monitor duty as a teacher, right? And, you know, shout out to the Savannah, Georgia MS community. It's pretty hot and muggy there. And so heat sensitivity was a major issue there for her, especially standing out there on that concrete in the hot sun. And of course, she didn't take advantage of MSAA's programming because that's for people who, you know, meet our financial guidelines and who are in need. But my mom does made use of a neck wrap, or she did during that time, and it was a huge, you know, game changer for her on that daily afternoon work. And it's kind of thing that eliminates barrier, really, and that's one of the major focuses of MSAA is eliminating barriers for people with MS.
Sure. Kyle, can you do me a favor? Are you far from your microphone?
Yeah, probably too far. All right, can you hear me better now?
Much, because you've been cutting in and out a little bit. So.
All right, sorry about that.
All right, that's not a problem. All right. Oh, I've been told that I need you to tilt your camera down a little bit too. So you're cutting your chin off. There you go. All right, there you go. Now we got more of you in the frame. Okay. All right, great. All right, so so a strange question that people have asked, and I really don't know if it exists or not, but so we have the cooling products for the summertime, but is there any kind other than using a heating pad? Is there something that people can use to warm them up while they're walking around in cold weather? Because a lot of people are very cold sensitive.
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think we all probably in the MS community think so much about heat sensitivity, but there are some folks who have severe sensitivity to cold and the heat doesn't impact as much. We don't, MSA doesn't offer anything specifically for that. So I can't unfortunately provide a resource that we could provide to help people, but I've heard the same thing, and it's kind of perplexing as to why that is.
Yeah, so I know about
this is a plug to, like, if people are interested in learning what resources are in the community, we've got a great client services team that Amanda helps oversee along with team members there. And I got to tell you, they're lifesavers in terms of finding great resources for people who are in need of really a lot of differing issues. And in the MS world, I mean, frankly, the only thing that's predictable about it is its unpredictability, right? So because of that, there's a lot of different questions, as we all know. And some of those may be like, I don't know where I can get help paying for my rent. I don't know where I can be paying for my utility bills. Or I don't know what I can do for, cold sensitivity. And those are the kind of questions that I always recommend people send to our clients to help try to connect.
Breaking up again.
The community that may be able to help.
Breaking up.
Still
again.
Can't hear me. Dang.
No. Gang, got to bring that microphone closer to your mouth.
All right.
The internet sometimes has molasses in it, Stu, as you know, and we could be dealing with some.
It's funny because when he says all right, he's like turns his head a little bit and then we can hear him perfectly.
Standing right over it. I'm standing right over it.
Now we lose his chin again, right? It's okay. All right. We'll figure it out. So the reason why this thing is brought up about the cold sensitivity or the needing for heat in the wintertime is there are a lot of people, obviously, we know that are using wheelchairs and scooters. Their circulation is not as good as somebody that's up and able to walk around constantly. And their cold feet that they have in the summertime are even worse in the wintertime. And they want to know what they could put in their shoes that might help them warm up. And I said, I've never heard of this. And this just came up this week. So it's not like I haven't even asked the doctor about this yet. I guess
I'll give you a layperson's suggestion if it's worth anything. There are these little, very inexpensive, right? That folks use sometimes for skiing or going outside in the winter in the snow that you can put in your boots. They last forever, for hours. And it really does feel like you have an oven in your toes if you've ever tried one of those in a boot. So that might be a quick fix for that situation, but that's just a layperson's suggestion on where to go to find some comfort in the cold.
Right. So then you can really tell somebody they have a hot foot.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true. Right. All right. Let's get to the next question. All right. We could joke around about this for a little while, but there's got to be lots of things that people can do to keep warm with batteries or otherwise. So, all right. So I'm going to ask Amanda, can you explain how the need for the equipment distribution program in the MS community was initially recognized, and more detail on how the equipment distribution program even works?
Yes. So again, going back to our founding at MSAA 51 years ago, the founder really felt like there was this gap in services that were being offered back then that would help people in their daily living and with their quality of life. And one of those pieces was getting folks the equipment they need. And frankly, you know, it seems preposterous that at any time, let alone in 2021, that just because you financially might not be able to afford a walker or a cane or a wheelchair, that would make you homebound. But unfortunately, that's true for some folks. And that's really at the core of everything we do, is trying to make sure, you know, and Kyle mentioned this earlier, trying to make sure that these access barriers, which are real and really impact people's ability to get out of their own houses sometimes, if we can eliminate them, then that makes a world of a difference in terms of how people are able to live their lives. And so that's where the equipment distribution program came from. That's kind of the heart of it. That I would say is the thread of the heart of everything that we do. The equipment distribution pieces change sometimes. And so I would encourage folks, if you have ideas of things that are missing on there that you would like to see, send them our way. And again, Kyle mentioned the helpline. That's a great place to go, or go to our website, mymsaa.org, and let us know what you would like to see there, because when that is updated, when we update that list, we really are thoughtful about what are we missing.
Okay, thank you for that. Kyle, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Amanda covered it. Can y'all hear me okay, by the way?
Yes, it's a lot better.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
So let me add into what you're saying about the equipment distribution program. Is that anything similar to, like, a lot of people remember Loan Closet?
So it's very different from Loan Closet in the fact that it's brand new equipment that's shipped directly to the client, to the person living with MS, and it's theirs to keep. And so, you know, I think I've always been in awe of the loan closets that have done great work in communities. I think for MSA, at least, are the way we have decided to do it is really just to make sure people get brand new equipment. There's not any issue with what they're getting, and then it's theirs to keep. There's an ability to, after a certain number of years, to reapply if something we gave you is not working anymore. But yeah, so that's the difference. There's no expectation it's ever going to come back to us, and you're getting it brand new in a box.
Great.
And I just would like to add one little point for Amanda, to elaborate on something. We also have, it's kind of an evolving program too, and we have added equipment to sort of, you know, for all body types, really, especially when you think about things like tub benches, where, you know, weight restrictions in certain sizes are, you know, something to be considered. And that's something at MSAA we do take very seriously and take to heart. We want to make sure our equipment works for all people. So that is something that we continuously evolve, and we always welcome feedback.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, what can you tell us about car lifts? Do you have that available?
We do not.
Okay.
And I will say that's one of those things, Stu, like, it's going to take a village to pay for car lifts. They're so expensive.
Right.
We hear it often. And it is just a funding issue, frankly. I mean, it's, if we could, but I mean, our goal really is always to try to serve as many folks as we can with what we can offer. And we never want to have to say no to anyone who comes in. If we start offering car lifts without sufficient funding, make it lucky to help a couple people, but that would be so disappointing for all those we couldn't. So that's not something we have currently available.
Okay.
But I will say there are resources out there for automobile modifications. So do give us a call, because we can make sure we can direct them to you, whatever's in your community.
Yeah, and is that thank you for that. Is that the same with, like, the pool chair to get in and out of the pool, swimming pool?
Yeah, I don't believe that we have those on offer. But I do know, again, to Kyle's point, this is where, you know, it's wonderful because, you know, I think, so you could speak to this as much as either of us could, that we're very fortunate to have such a great, coalition of MS nonprofits in this country. We're super fortunate. And it's wonderful that all of us are able to give different things to different people, right? And I think in that way, we're lucky because we all actually really get along too. For those who might not know us behind the scenes, we're a collegial group, all working to try to embetter the MS community. And I think that that's the piece where, we often refer out every chance we get. If it's not something we offer to other patients, to other MS nonprofits about what they offer. And I feel like the speed dial goes all ways with all of us, that we're making sure that people know that the resources are available, even if it's not through our own nonprofit. And that's the piece where, for our helpline at least, is amazing on that stuff. And I often say to folks, it's like, before you spend a lot of time on Google trying to find it out, give us a call, because we're going to refer you out to all of the other MS nonprofits and all of the other resources, frankly, that are available to you to help you get what you need.
Great. Thank you for that. Somebody just wrote in that they can't get out of bed, and they want to know if there's some kind of device that could be put above them, like a pulley type system, where if they grab it, they could help pull themselves upright to at least get to a sitting position. I'm sure that a good handyman can even put that together for a person, but how safe is it? And what do you recommend for as the type of person that they should have come in and do that kind of work? Can you recommend anything like that?
So I would, again, refer to our wonderful helpline staff, who unfortunately are not here, but they could certainly point folks in the right direction.
Well, also, I should say that that's also the role of an occupational therapist to help adapt your environment, because your home may not necessarily comport to some of the equipment that's out there. But a good OT can actually come in and take a look and tell you what will and won't work, and can recommend things like Hoyer lifts or other types of lifts that may be more appropriate for you and your body type, especially if you have a care partner that lives with you, or if you are someone who lives alone.
And to Kyle's point, Stu, that's also another resource and referral that we would give out, right? So if you're living in a rural space and you wouldn't know where to turn, we have a great resource database where we can try to help you find that professional that could better help you in your own location.
Great. That's great. Well, I'm sure this person will take advantage of it, and you might hear from them, but I can't say their name, so you'll just have to figure it out. All right.
Give us a call.
Yeah. Backing up a little bit, Angela wanted me to tell everybody that you can find disposable 8-hour or so heating aids for hands and feet, etc., in the camping section of stores like Walmart. So thank you, Angela, for that. And Delisa wanted to just say thank you for mentioning about cold sensitivity. And then backing up a little bit again, well, that was more to current. Somebody named Paula said, "Pardon me, Ms. Montague, how do I say your last name? Amanda Montague."
No, it's Montague, but I will take Montague or any iteration.
Montague. Got it. I said it right earlier, but Montague. Okay. All right. So anyway, Amanda, could you please elaborate on what is the cooling equipment program, which we've already said, and I'm newly diagnosed and learning. So maybe you can just reiterate, please, what might be there for brand new, newly diagnosed people.
Great question. So again, I would encourage you to go and visit our website at mymsa.org, or call our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-532-7667. If you don't have access to the internet, we can really walk you through the process. But if you do have access to the internet, you can actually get a picture of what's to offer, and you can actually pick which one you would prefer to use. So there are, not to get too into the weeds here, but there are a couple of different models, and we offer a couple of different ones. So it's really up to you what would work best for you. To Kyle's point earlier as well, I wanted to mention we also have cooling vests for pediatric MS patients. So they're in every single size, shape, even a couple of different colors. But it's one of those things that it's kind of a custom made. Choose your own adventure in terms of what kind of cooling equipment you want.
Sure. Thank you for that. Let me just remind everybody, if you have any questions to ask, because some people came on after we got this program started, but if you have any questions to ask, there's an orange rectangle at the top of the page with an arrow in it. Just please click on that. And again, keep the questions relative to the topics that we're discussing here. Please don't ask anything that's medically related, because neither Amanda or Kyle are qualified to answer that question, and neither am I, for sure. Okay?
Hey, Stuart, can I add one thing to that question that came in that I thought was really good? She asked about newly diagnosed services. And
Sure.
I will tell you, actually, if she has access to the internet, this person, I highly recommend she looks at our video archive, because we just finished a series of 3 programs for people who are newly diagnosed. It talks a little bit about like communication strategies, to talk about interrelationship stuff, and to talk about just the newly diagnosed journey in general. So I really, really recommend she check that out, as well as we are currently working on a really cool new development for people with newly diagnosed that should be developed and finished soon. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, thank you. So there's several people now writing in about where people could get thermal anything from. I just want to thank everybody for sending their suggestions, and we're just not going to keep adding to each one, okay? All right, so another person wrote, and I can answer this. You mentioned the URL that people could go to really quick, and she said MyMSAA.org. So my is an M-Y, okay? Mary Yellow, okay? MSAA.org, okay? So I was wondering, yes, some people are asking about that, so I wanted to make that clear. All right. Let's get on to something else that, again, was brought up already, but I'm going to ask it again just because it didn't stand alone all by itself. Tell us about your MS helpline. What is it that people should know? Why is it so helpful? And can you give us more detail on how people can contact the helpline and about everything? And whether it be about depression or, services needed. Can you tell us how that works?
Sure. So we're super lucky to have a wonderful helpline staff who all are licensed social workers. And from its inception, I think the helpline has been a lot of different things to different people. Going back into the medieval ages, at least for us, when we were actually doing in-person patient programs, the stories that would come out from people living with MS about their experiences with the helpline were as diverse as the journeys with MS themselves. So again, going back to what we had mentioned previously, certainly consider it a resource and referral space. And that's really for anything. So if you are looking for a neurologist or occupational therapist or a physical therapist in your area, give them a call. If you have questions about medication, if you have questions about symptomology, they are not medical professionals, but they can certainly point you into resources that MSA has either through publications or on our website in terms of getting that information you need. They're also really there for access issues. So we get a lot of calls from folks who are having trouble getting basic needs met, right? Like paying the rent, getting food, not just about medication. And they're also there to help triage those questions. Lastly, I'll say they're also there just if you're having a bad day. And right. That's not just for people living with MS, but that's also for family members, care partners. We do get a lot of calls from family members of those living with MS who don't know what to do, who might have questions about MS itself. And that's another place to turn. And certainly if those living with MS are looking for a trusted number to give a family member who might have questions, I would certainly say call our helpline, because that is something that we do quite often.
Okay, thank you for that. Hey, questions about the helpline. Is it 24/7? Is it, every day, every hour of the day?
No, so so that's a really great question. It's not a crisis line. So if people are in crisis, we will appropriately refer them out to a crisis line. It is Monday through Thursday, 5:30 a.m. Eastern until 5 p.m. Pacific, right? So okay. 8:30 to 5.
8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Not that early.
No. I'm Pacific time, so this is where I'm getting bungled up. Thank you, Kyle. with your Eastern timestamp. And then Friday it is 8:30 to 5 Eastern.
Okay.
So
great.
yeah.
So if a person is there a recording on the line so that if they call after hours that they know what to do, even
Yes.
if in case of emergency where they should contact?
Yes, there is. And also
Right.
we pride ourselves on getting back to folks within 24 hours. The helpline also has a chat function. So for folks who are more comfortable kind of asking questions or interacting in a this way, there's that ability as well. And then they also do take questions via email. So it's all different means of communication.
Great. Can I ask how many people you have answering the lines over there?
Yes. And I hope everyone externally is as impressed as we are. It's 3 wonderful women.
That's good.
I will share with you in the month of December, they fielded thousands and thousands and thousands of calls. It's always impressive to me how much they're able to handle, but keep calling and keep sending your questions.
Great. You might even hear from me. Who knows?
Yeah.
Listen, I want to give applause to those people that are working in that room. All right. Very, very much needed. And that's a great service that you guys are providing. And I'm sure that there are, like you said, there are thousands that contact there. And unfortunate that for many, but it is more than deserving that they have this place to contact. Okay.
For sure.
All right. So I'm going to back up into some questions that are coming in online again, or not even questions. Somebody that evidently loves the two of you named Audrey says, I just want to thank Kyle and Amanda for all you do for us living with MS. I have used the MSA once many years ago in need. I met Kyle while being diagnosed in Georgia 15 years ago, and Amanda once when I moved to the West Coast. Thanks for all that you guys are doing, and blah, blah, blah from Audrey, okay?
Well,
Thank
thanks
you,
to Audrey. That is Audrey just made my night and
That's good.
my week.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. Well, see, it was good for you to come on here then tonight.
of course it was.
All right. Tamara is writing about the thermal socks. I'm going to get past that. Thank you, though, Tamara. Again, you're there, and you got to tell me what your pronunciation is of your name. All right. There's a person named Rhonda who wrote this question long ago, and I don't want to forget her, and I don't want her to think that I'm forgetting, but I currently don't have access to the backyard. I'm wondering if there are programs to assist in getting steps with railing to exit the home.
Yeah, there are home modification programs out there. MSAA itself doesn't provide them. Sorry to interrupt, Amanda. But yeah, we can absolutely refer you to some great community-based home modification programs that would be able to assist with that.
Great, thank you. And not to bring up or shout out another name, but there is another MS organization that is doing this, and that is the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. They work with all these sources for providing this, and so we want to thank them. And if you need to get in touch with me about how to contact the MS Foundation, well, you don't have to contact me. Just go online to msfocus.org. Okay? All right. Now let's get back to the MSAA. All right. 2020 was a challenging year indeed, right? So what types of unique challenges had you been faced by the MS community as a result of COVID-19, and how the MSAA programs have responded to these needs?
So, I think in the beginning, I think we all probably thought that this was a temporary, crisis. And so we kind of took it from immediately stopping in-person patient programs, turning all of our programming into virtual experiences, working with this phenomenal third-party company called Wondros to develop a COVID-19 and MS Pathfinder that really it's a hub that's updated still weekly with well-sourced information about the latest around COVID-19 and specifically MS and COVID. So anything that's new on there, I would encourage folks to check it out. It's a pretty cool resource, if I do say so myself. And then we were kind of overwhelmed, frankly, with two different things. One was people just needing basic needs met, right? So we've always had those calls, and I'm sure we all have, right? Of people who just are needing help with, paying the bills. But once COVID started setting in and then people started losing jobs, we were overwhelmed with this sense of how drastic this was impacting a lot of our community. We were able to partner wonderfully with HelloFresh, a food delivery company. They donated 1,000 boxes of food for a family of 4 that they were able to ship directly to MS clients. Again, we wish we had been able to do it for everyone. But that felt like something that we could do, and it was wonderful again because it was donated by them for us to really be able to take advantage of it. We also were inundated and continue to be inundated with clients calling about depression and isolation and anxiety. And I know Stu, you and I were on a call not so long ago with other coalition members where everyone sounded the same alarm that I think we're all hearing. That these issues are only increasing since COVID. And I think it's safe to say that all of us, even those without MS, know that that's happening for all of us, right? But for those with MS, it's even more acute. And so that's been something that we've also been really trying to pay attention to in terms of figuring out how we can adequately help people get the mental health services they need, remind folks about opportunities to, take care of themselves and be mindful of their own well-being, emotional, not just physical. So I would say those are the kind of the most immediate that come to mind in terms of changes from last year. I don't know, Kyle, if I'm missing something here.
Oh, no, it's just the one obvious thing, which, and Stuart, you know this as well as anybody, is this transitioning from in-person programs to virtual programs, which was something that really impacted us over the course of the last year. I mean, I'm happy to say that, us and other MS organizations have been very fleet of foot here and have been very creative, and they transitioned very well into sort of the virtual space. And these programs have been very well received. I mean, we've had a litany of different types of programs in terms of educational interventions that are programs for the African-American MS community, programs in Spanish, and programs for the newly diagnosed population, programs for the children of people living with MS and their parents, and a number of other types of programs that have really been able to reach areas that don't typically get an MSAA educational in-person program because just by virtue of geography. So it has been like a really great opportunity for us. But again, we're looking forward to being able to do in-person programming again, because not only is the education good, Stuart, but like the socializing is good, like the fellowship is good. And that's something that a lot of people miss. And so we're excited to be able to resume that at some point in the future. But that has been like one of the biggest transition points for my team most directly is sort of working in this new virtual space. And I think we've been able to do it pretty excellently, I'm happy to say, to pat ourselves back a little bit. But that's been the thing that I've really been focused on.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you before we started the program. We have been doing MS Views and News, started doing a few programs in person to get people out of their homes in rural areas of the United States. We did 5 of them in 2020. We've done a couple of them already this year, and we are ready to start doing maybe 1 a month going forward, but they'll only be in less inhabited areas. And we don't care that the audience is small, just that, we're getting some of these people out of their homes and they're able to interact with others, because for their own mind, it is good for them to be able to get out and socialize. It's not a Zoom call. I mean, Zoom call. Everybody's gotten used to Zoom calls, right? Fortunately, we're not on Zoom tonight, right? But yeah, just to get out and even see somebody. And for those that can, they're wearing their masks. They go over and they see them face to face. And it's just, you could see and you can feel the warmth in the room through their mask. You could see the delight in their eyes to see somebody in person. And that is so needed that, we have to find more ways how to do this just better. That's all. Get people out of their homes and be able to do this. If we're going to be living with this COVID for another 2 years, one way or another, or longer, because nobody knows, right? But we got to find ways to get people to interact. And so, you guys will eventually do it, and we'll just, we'll be doing it and hopefully doing it safely as we continue along.
Well, and there's hope too, Stu, as you mentioned before to Kyle and I mean, the vaccines are here.
That's right.
They're coming, right? And I think that that's another big piece of making sure people really understand how important it is, obviously, to talk to your doctor. But like that's going to hopefully be a game changer in a positive way for all of us.
That's right. That's right. As long as you get it, you can talk about it all you want, but you have to actually get it, right?
Yes.
Yes, and it has to be working for us too.
Yes.
All right, which is of course on everybody's mind. I mean, I didn't have a reaction to it. Does that mean it didn't work? I mean, that's, everybody's told, well, you're going to feel something, negative from it. You're going to be a little ill the next day, maybe, and that's good because that means it's, your antibodies are kicking in. But all I got was a sore arm. So,
Nice. Good.
All right, next thing. Let's start with Kyle first this time. What about the shared management tools? Telehealth, we're talking about that now, and access to technology has become such an important part of receiving healthcare and staying connected this year. How has this program been able to assist people?
You mean telehealth and in general, or MSAA shared management tools?
The MSAA shared management tools.
Okay, gotcha. Because I tell you, I can tell you a little bit about telehealth, Stuart, but it might be a bad
I want you to
answer.
tell me about shared management tools.
Oh, good. So MSAA, let me backtrack a little bit.
Wait. We got to get you to stop again. I need you to yell into your microphone.
Oh boy. What's funny is I've got this nice microphone that's like sitting right in front of me, but the thing isn't picking it up at all. I don't know why I'm talking right.
No, that's worse. That's worse.
I know. So I'm like, this is it's like the onboard microphone. So I'm getting closer and closer to you guys.
There you go.
It's getting like uncomfortable probably for y'all. But all right, listen, our shared management tools at MSAA. So we have had a shared management philosophy at MSAA for a very long time, really as long as I've been employed by the organization. And this really kicked off with the creation of our SEARCH workbooklets. SEARCH is an acronym that basically stands for safety, efficacy, affordability, risk, convenience, and health outcomes. This is all centered on the idea of the questions you should ask your doctor if you're ever going to switch therapies, which is a key thing in the MS community. And so we sort of built on that by developing other tools that we have sort of evolved over the years at MSAA. And this kind of wraps into this bigger initiative that Amanda has overseen over the last 4 years now, I would say, called Navigating MS. And Amanda, I don't want to pass the football over to you, but I think you're better suited to talk about navigating MS than me, and I can maybe fill in things on the back end.
Sure. So Navigating MS is a global initiative. Kyle was right, but just shy 1 year. We've been doing it for 5 years. The whole premise of bringing it together was really a shared concern between MS specialists, neurologists, nurses, and patient advocates about how honest conversations were happening within a clinical setting, right? So, Stuart, I think you'll appreciate this. The number of times, we've been asked by folks like, why aren't you showing a picture of how bad MS can look? Well, no one wants to show that picture, frankly. And, you can see some of the commercials that are out there, and they're certainly not showing that picture. And so this really came out of a concern from the healthcare professional community. Dr. David Jones, who's now at the FDA, he was the chair in the beginning. He's still involved. We brought together 40 leading MS neurologists, nurses, physical therapists, and then 13 different patient advocacy organizations from the US, EU, UK, and Australia to try to figure out how we do this, because no one wants to be the bearer of bad news. But also, as we know from the research really does show that treatment is important and it can delay progression. But how do we collectively and supportively give that message while supporting shared decision making, but making sure that those living with MS are putting the risk of disease modifying therapies within the context of the risk of just a natural progression of MS. And so from that, we published a white paper, kind of said where we were going, where we were heading. I'll spare everyone the nitty-gritty details of the past 4 years, but we've done a lot of work and publication and poster presentations at international and national conferences around barriers to shared decision making. We're now really excited about a clinical trial we're part of, we're working with shared decision management resources, and it is we're hopefully near the final stages soon. We got delayed a bit because of COVID, but of doing a clinical trial testing what will be the first MS patient preference tool. So it's not a therapeutic decision aid, but it is it really does gauge where what's meaningful to patients. And then after you do this 45-minute online tool, right, it spits out for you 3 potential therapies that kind of match what's important to you, what your own risk benefit profile is, what you will never do, what you would like to do, what would be your ideal. And then it's something that you can share with your neurologist so that you have a starting point to kind of have conversations either about starting therapy or switching therapies that involve the patients at the center of the conversation, instead of a doctor just saying, hey, I think it should be, this disease modifying therapy, that the patient actually has something that they can come in and say, like, that this is why this is important to me. This is why it's spit it out. And so that's something we're super excited about. And just as a quick aside, we're really proud to be an arm of this clinical trial to make sure that we're including those living with MS who are being seen from a community neurologist standpoint, not just the MS centers and MS specialists, and the tools also being tested within the patient population who's being seen at MS centers, and also community neurologists and the MS specialists. So we have 4 different groups we're studying to see, do people actually find this effective? Is it changing the way that folks are having dialogue around treatment decisions? And so that's kind of where we are right now with navigating.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Hey, I'm volunteering for your project. All right.
We'll take you.
Remember, I'm a patient. I get to do that. And by the way, speaking about, not wanting to show all the negatives, my gosh, I remember when I was first diagnosed and having to go to a support group meeting, and wow, the fear of what people find that a newly diagnosed going to those support group meetings or self-help group meeting, whatever you want to call it, and walking in and on your own 2 feet and seeing what could possibly happen. Now, when I was diagnosed, there were only 2 medications. So it's come a long way since then, all right? A tremendous way since then. But even seeing that back then was very scary. Very, very scary.
I mean, support groups are amazing. And I think they are, I've long said that they are kind of like the front lines sometimes of the fight against MS for a lot of people. And they're a great community connection, but they're not for everybody. And that's something that a lot of support group leaders have learned, and there are some incredible ones out there. And big shout out to all my friends who are support group leaders. They are doing amazing work.
Great. Thank you for including that. So we have not a lot of time left, but I have 3 more questions to go through with you, and I want to just make sure that we hit upon these. And Amanda, I know you want to answer this, so I want to ask you about the association's MRI Access Fund. What is offered under that program, and how does someone know if they will even qualify for it?
Fabulous question, and I'm so happy for it. Again, if you have access to the internet and can visit mymsa.org, you will find all of the information there, but I'm going to give you a quick overview. So right now, the way the program works is that you qualify if you are at 300% again of the federal poverty guidelines. There's a nice and neat, simple chart online, or if you don't have access to the internet, you can give us a call and we can work through it with you to see if you qualify or not. It really is for anyone. So outside of the income guidelines, you can have insurance, but just be underinsured. You can have a big deductible. You can have no insurance. So there's no barrier in terms of what type of insurance you might have. It's really the income requirement is the piece that that we need to get through. So there are 2 kind of avenues, I would say, that you can go to the MRI Access Fund. One is if your doctor just prescribes an MRI and you can't afford it, your deductible is going to be too high, contact us. And we actually can work with you to find an imaging center close to you, and we can pay the imaging center directly, so you don't have to touch it. And that's, I think, it's a wonderful service. A lot of MS centers, a lot of neurologists refer to us often for that, but please remember, for those who are listening, you too can access it yourself. It doesn't have to come through a doctor. The other piece, you do need a doctor's note saying that they want an MRI, but other than that, the other way of going about this is that if you have gotten an MRI within the past 6 months and you have an existing bill that hasn't been paid, you can come to us and we can help with paying of that bill. Now, just to be really clear on this, because I don't want to screw anyone up, we can't pay patients directly, but that's where it has to be an outstanding bill that we might be able to pay the imaging center directly. So that's another avenue to go with it. There are going to be in the next coming weeks some changes in terms of the application process, all that good stuff. So stay tuned on that. But in the immediate, if anyone needs help, give a call. We're here. We're really proud of this program in particular, and we know how much of a difference it makes.
Thank you very much for that. Kyle, do you want to add anything into that, or?
No, when I first started at MSAA, and I built a very big network of neurologists, nurse practitioners, nurses, and other healthcare professionals that I've worked with. And anytime I'd introduce myself as part of that ongoing networking, I would say, I would introduce myself as working for MSAA, and they say, MSAA, oh, the MRI program. Always the first thing they think of, and because it's such a vital program for a lot of MSMs and MS clinics out there, because it really can be life changing, frankly. So I'm proud to offer it, and frankly, I mean, it's really one of our keystone programs. So I'm just so delighted to be part of it.
Okay. One last question for Amanda about that. Thank you, Kyle, for your answer. Now, a little broken up, but we'll have to deal with that. All right. Amanda, the Access Fund, is that for either a 1.5 or a 3.0?
Actually, I think yes, it is. Our preference when we're the ones picking the imaging center is to go with the best one.
Great.
Right.
Great. Good. And for people to know, the 3.0 is the better one than the 1.5. Okay. So, yes, that needs to be said.
We're getting into new terrain that's going to make the 3.0 seem obsolete soon, too. So,
yeah, the 5.0 is next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. I've seen images of that. It's really insane. So also with, that's with artificial imaging, right? The AI imaging is coming there, too. It's really crazy stuff. We'll be talking about that in a year from now, all right, everybody? We'll bring back Amanda to speak about that at that time. Okay, next, can you share with the audience more information about the different publications from the MSAA and how they can receive this online or by paper copy?
Yeah, easy. So again, I know I'm a broken record, mymsa.org. You can see a list of all of our publications. All of them are free. If you register with us, and that just means simply you give us your contact information, you'll get the publications of what Kyle was speaking to earlier, the Motivator research updates. They'll just be automatically mailed to you. If you have an email address, they'll also be emailed to you in a PDF form. But we have a ton of publications. It's always growing. I'll just give a couple of highlights. We have a relapse management toolkit that really is helpful and kind of serves as a one-stop shop for people who want to kind of come up with a plan about what to do once they experience a relapse. We also have, going back to the conversation about children and having parents with MS, two wonderful books that are children's books, again, that are free. And one is with a dad who has MS, and one is with a mom who has MS. And we have more grandparents who are getting those books, probably even than parents. So they're great books. So I would encourage folks to go on and see what we have, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, we've got like tons of PDF files of these books, and I just to toot my own horn, I've written a couple of them, so or co-authored them. So please read those first.
Okay, very good. Thank you. In relative to what you're speaking about right now, person Audrey is asking, does your client service team have all the new MS trials for African Americans?
Yes. And let me give a fabulous shout out to one of our directors who's not here with us, but Marie LeGrand is our director out of Chicago, and she chairs, along with Dr. Mitzi Williams, our African American Advisory Board that was founded in 2019. That group is comprised of African American MS patients, care partners, and then all of the leading MS neurologists and nurses who are African American in the States. And they came together to write this amazing consensus paper about what the gaps were, not just for patients, but also in the healthcare professional community, and some goals that we can all aspire to, but certainly it's leading what MSA is doing in this space. That is a publication too that is on our website, free. You can get copies of it or just read it online. But there's a lot that we've done in that space for many, many years. I'll also mention, just because of the timeliness of it, we've had a number of webinars that are, again, archived on our website, on our MSI page with Dr. Williams, specifically around COVID and the African American MS patient population, and also really delving into MS and how it affects different ethnicities. So that's another space to go to get some more information.
Great, thank you. Kyle?
No, again, Amanda covered it all. Marie has been working very closely with me, but really doing all this amazing work with our African American Advisory Board. And I will say we are in the works to try and develop one for other communities as well, particularly the Latinx community. MSAA has a really strong strategic plan that we've formulated over the next 3 years that really focuses on underserved populations. That includes African Americans living with MS, the Latinx population, or Hispanic Americans living with MS, and the rural population, which is something we were just discussing before we went online here, Stuart. So I can't stress enough. We're developing advisory boards. We're developing programming to try and help those who have felt underserved for many, many years, and we want to make sure that you get the education and resources you need.
Thank you for that. I think that the MS organizations that are working on providing programs, when we get back to doing primarily in-person programs, I think the different MS organizations that are focused on providing programs in rural America and underserved communities across the U.S., we should get together and figure out a formula of doing these programs, because we might be stepping on each other, both being in Paducah, Kentucky, all right, in the middle of nowhere, all right, and we don't both need to be there the same month. So, we could actually split it up and figure out who's going to be there what time of the year. But if we actually had more knowledge of this, we could actually probably spread our wealth between the organizations and serve more people. Okay, so it's just something to think about.
Listen,
all right.
Couldn't be more, Stu. There are more needs than any of us collectively.
That's right.
That's right. And I feel like that's where, again, for those who aren't necessarily sitting in the nonprofit space that all of us are, I think we're so fortunate, because there are very few areas in health patient advocacy nonprofits that are outside of MS where everyone genuinely gets along and really tries to work together to build the puzzle that's going to really meet the needs of the whole community. And that's something I'm so grateful for every day. So amen to what you just said. Totally agree.
Good.
Yeah,
Bring it up.
I grew up in rural, next coalition, rural Georgia, my friend. So I'm all ears for anything that helps the rural population.
I got it. And I cannot wait to get back to Macon and places like that. Warner Robins, I mean, we've been there, but it's so needed. It's so needed to be in those areas. So, and in central Alabama, I mean, we've been to Tuscaloosa and I don't even remember the names of the towns. They're so small. So.
Oh, sure. And Tuscaloosa, that's like a metropolis compared to where I grew up.
That's right. But it was on the outskirts of Tuscaloosa. So we'll get along with that. All right. Last question. All right. And then I'll see if there's any others coming in, and then we'll call it a wrap for tonight. But can you share, please, with the audience more information about the Multiple Sclerosis Information Video Library, the MSI, on-demand videos, webinars, and webcasts? Either one of you can start.
Yeah. So very simply, if you aren't able to, if you can, and I'm sure, Stu, you would say the same thing for your programs online, if you can register for them, that's wonderful. We know that you don't necessarily, have the time that day, something comes up, you can't show up. So everything is archived on the MSI. So you can catch it after the fact.
Right. And that's what I was telling you before the program. So that's
Exactly.
quite true. X amount of people can register for programs. A third maybe actually be online that night because they know that they could go back and just check it out on your YouTube channel afterwards, right?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Kyle, anything you want to add to that?
No, but I'm not a YouTube user. Okay, I'm a bad millennial, I guess. But you can find MSAA's channel on your YouTube app, on your smart TV, or on your computer, and just watch all our videos that had your heart's potential desires. We've got a whole lot of them and a whole lot of different topics.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And amazingly, your sound came in perfect that time.
Finally.
All right. So somebody just wrote MSI with a question mark, but Kenita, Amanda just did answer that. And basically it is, watching their videos that are online. After the program happens, you could always go back and look at their library by visiting their website and finding their archive programs. And we should all promote each other's stuff. And there's enough information out there for everybody.
Exactly
Okay?
right.
All right. So we did answer questions from the audience already. I'm now going to ask Amanda and Kyle, if you would, at free will, what do you want to say? And then we'll call it a wrap.
Okay, I'm going to go. Hopefully I'm coming through well for you guys, but my internet now is working a little bit like molasses.
Well, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay. So one, just thank you again for having us. There were two pieces that we missed talking about that maybe Kyle can talk about a little bit. But we do have our MS Manager, which is our app, our free app that's available both on iPhone or Android. It's wonderful. Talking about shared decision making, it allows you, if you and your doctor both opt in, to share information real time about what you're experiencing with your MS. We also have an online community. That's a great resource. We have over 5,000 folks, people living with MS from the US and even abroad, who are very active there. So that might be something to check out. And then lastly, I will just say again, thanks so much, Stu, for having us. And it's a pleasure, as always, to be part of the village that I feel like we all are in, to really serve the MS community that we all just love and are dedicated to.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Amanda. And by the way, your internet is going down because Pacific time, it's 5:30-ish p.m. over there, and everybody's getting home, and they're using up your bandwidth in the area. Okay?
Friday night movies. Exactly.
That's right. That's right. All right. Kyle, you want to add anything, please?
Just very briefly, I just want to say that, I feel very lucky to have been making this my entire life's work. The MS community has been very welcoming to me, regardless of my role. Anytime I come into my various MS communities, like in Charlotte or in Atlanta or Savannah or in Greenville or Birmingham, wherever it might be. And so I feel just a debt of gratitude to the wonderful people who are living with MS in these communities in the Southeast and throughout the country. I just thank you so much for letting me spend a few hours with you the times we come into those communities.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you very much for your answers. And I am very grateful to have the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America in my backyard as well, because I too, as an MS patient, do look at this association's webpage to see what it is, what kind of services you might have available for me one day. All right. And then so kudos to you all for everything that you're doing, because you guys provide so much for the MS community that I'm just glad to say and be able to tell, refer people to your site on a regular basis. And it's easy to say mymsaa.org.
Thank you, Stu.
Thanks so much, man.
You all have a great night. Have a great weekend. Everybody be well out there. And we'd like to thank our sponsors once again. We got Biogen, Bristol-Myers, Squibb, and Sanofi Genzyme. Everybody have a great night and be kind to each other. Wear your masks.
And wear your masks, yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.